It started as a spontaneous road trip, something we'd done countless times before. But this one was different. By the time it ended, I wished I'd never left home. There were four of us: me, my best friend Mark, his girlfriend Sarah, and my younger sister Emily. It was late October, and we decided to take one last road trip before winter set in. The plan was simple: drive through some small towns, explore a few trails, and end the trip at a secluded Airbnb deep in the countryside. The drive started off great. The weather was crisp, the trees were painted in shades of red and gold, and we had a playlist blasting through the speakers. Everything felt perfect. But by the time we reached the back roads, things began to feel off. It was around 7:30 p.m. when we left the main highway. The sun had dipped below the horizon, and the road was barely wide enough for two cars to pass. Mark was driving, and I was in the passenger seat with the map app open on my phone. The girls were in the back, chatting and taking pictures of the scenery. The first sign of trouble came about 15 minutes in. The GPS signal cut out. "No big deal," I said, trying to sound calm. "We're on a straight road. Should be easy to find our way." But the road wasn't as straight as I thought. It twisted and turned through dense woods, the trees forming a tunnel overhead. The deeper we went, the darker it got. The headlights barely seemed to penetrate the blackness. Mark joked, "This is how every horror movie starts, right?" We all laughed nervously, but no one disagreed. About half an hour later, we saw the first house. It was a small, weathered shack with a dim porch light flickering in the distance. As we passed, Sarah noticed a figure standing in the yard. "Did you see that guy?" she asked. "What guy?" I replied, craning my neck to look back. "By the house," she said. "He was just standing there watching us." Emily scoffed. "Probably just a farmer. You're being paranoid." But as we rounded a bend, we passed another house and another figure standing in the shadows near the driveway. This time I saw it too. "Okay, that's creepy," I muttered. Mark laughed again, but it was forced this time. "Relax, it's probably just locals. They're not used to seeing cars out here at night." But they weren't just standing there. They were watching us. And as we drove further, we began to see more of them. Figures standing by mailboxes, leaning against trees, or just standing motionless in open fields. The road was getting rougher, and the tension in the car was palpable. No one was talking anymore, and the music had been turned off. We were focused on the road ahead, hoping to find a way out of the woods. Then it happened. The car jolted violently, and Mark swore. He pulled over to the side of the road and got out to inspect the damage. "Flat tire," he called out. "Looks like we ran over something." The rest of us got out too. The air was cold and damp, and the silence was deafening. There were no sounds of insects, no rustling of leaves, just an eerie, oppressive stillness. Mark grabbed the spare tire and jack from the trunk and got to work. I held the flashlight for him while the girls stayed close to the car, huddled together. That's when Emily whispered, "Someone's watching us." I looked up and my stomach dropped. In the distance, barely visible in the beam of the flashlight, was a figure standing at the edge of the trees. Mark saw it too. "Let's just hurry up and get out of here," he said, his voice tight. We worked as fast as we could, but the unease was growing. Every time I glanced up, it felt like the figure had moved closer, though I couldn't be sure. We were back on the road within minutes, but the tension didn't let up. Sarah was crying softly in the back seat, and even Mark, who usually laughed off anything remotely scary, was gripping the wheel like his life depended on it. We'd been driving for maybe 10 minutes when we saw it. A white van parked on the side of the road, its hazard lights flashing. As we approached, Mark slowed down. "Don't stop," I said quickly. "I'm not," he replied. But as we passed the van, the headlights illuminated something that made my blood run cold. The back doors were open, and inside were dozens of Polaroid photos taped to the walls. And then we saw them. figures emerging from the woods on both sides of the road. They were walking toward the van, toward us, their faces hidden in the shadows. Mark slammed on the gas, and the car lurched forward. The figures disappeared into the darkness behind us, but the image of that van was burned into my mind. We should have been close to the Airbnb by then, but the GPS was still out, and the road didn't look familiar anymore. Every turn felt like a mistake, every mile taking us deeper into the woods. And then the road ended. We came to a dead stop in front of a rusted gate blocking the road. Beyond it was a dirt path leading into the trees. "What now?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "We turn around," Mark said. But as he shifted the car into reverse, the headlights illuminated something behind us. A figure was standing in the middle of the road, about 50 feet away. It was holding something, a long, sharp object that glinted in the light. "Go!" I shouted. Mark floored it, swerving off the road and into the trees. The car bounced and jolted as we sped through the underbrush, branches scraping against the windows. We drove for what felt like hours, though it was probably only minutes. Finally, we burst out onto another road, a real road with painted lines and street signs. We didn't stop until we reached a gas station, miles away from the woods. The attendant gave us strange looks as we stumbled inside, disheveled and pale. We tried to explain what had happened, but it sounded insane even to us. The van, the figures, the photos. It was like something out of a nightmare. The attendant listened quietly, then said something that chilled me to the bone. "You're lucky you got out," he said. "A lot of people don't."